How much would you have today if you had invested just £5 per day in the S&P 500 over the past 10, 20, 30, even 45 years? £5 is seemingly a very small amount of money, and especially these days, it doesn't buy you very much at all. But over long periods of time, it can compound into significant amounts of wealth. And that's what I'm going to illustrate in this video. Rather than using averages from a compound interest calculator, we're going to back test in the actual S&P 500. If you had have started investing back in 2014 or 2004 or 1994, how much would your money have compounded into? And that's taking into account all of the recessions, the bad years, but over time you would have consistently invested £5 per day. Now, we may not see the exact same returns over the next 30, 40 years as we have over the past 30, 40 years. However, I still believe that we will probably see higher returns in the stock market than we would with a savings account, even though interest rates are quite good right now, or even something like real estate. I still believe that the stock market is the best place to invest your money. And if you can invest a small amount every day, you can set yourself up on the path to wealth. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. I'm going to break down first how much you could have over those time frames, and then we'll talk about where you can actually find this extra £5 per day. I believe you can do this. That's £150 per month without making too much sacrifice in your life. Honestly, I want you to be able to do this without making any lifestyle changes. I'm not someone who preaches saving every last penny you have so that you can retire 2 years earlier. I believe in living life. You only have so much time here, and your younger years should be enjoyed. But I think there's a healthy balance, and we're going to show you how you can find that as well. First off, let's take a look at the last 10 years, from 2014 through to 2024. Now, that's the period that I pretty much have been investing for since I left school in, I think, 2015 or 2016. So I've been part of this market, and I've been able to turn fairly small amounts of money that I invested into about £120,000 portfolio. But how would £5 a day have fared? Well, if we take a look at the numbers here on the computer, over that time frame, you would have invested £18,000 of your own money. So even £5 a day, it adds up to quite a lot over 10 years. But how much would that have give you in returns? Well, as of today, you would be sitting on a portfolio of roughly £35,955, essentially doubling your money over that time frame. So that's pretty good. Doubling your money every 10 years is pretty much a good rule of thumb for how much you can expect to make in the stock market. But the first 10 years isn't going to be the greatest. That's not where you're getting the huge benefits of compound interest. That's going to come later. So let's take a look at if you had started investing all the way back in 2004. Now, back then, I was too young to be investing, and if you're watching this video, you probably were too. But over that time frame, from 2004 to 2024, you would have invested a total of £36,000 of your own money. But as of today, your portfolio value would be at £129,620. You essentially would have quadrupled your investment in that 20-year period. Again, staying pretty true to that rule of your money doubling every 10 years. So it's starting to get a little bit more exciting. Over a 20-year period, if you start at 20 to 40, you can put £5 a day away. This is completely separate of your mortgage, of any other savings that you have. This is a £5 investment every day. You go ahead, you put it into your stocks. You should have a portfolio in the six-figure range at 40. That may not sound like crazy money because you see all of this stuff on social media, but let me tell you, most 40-year-olds do not have six figures in liquid cash. That is not how things are in real life. However, if you can be diligent and you can be dedicated to investing just £5 per day, you could have that at the age of 40. Now things start to get a little bit more exciting. If we had started back in 1994, which is a couple of years before I was even born, you would have invested a total of £54,000, and that would have turned into £285,316 as of today. So you can really see that compound interest start to take effect. And I know it's 30 years, but this is money that you're putting away and forgetting about. You never look at this money. You don't touch it. You don't buy holidays with it. You don't buy luxury things with it. It goes into that account. It sits there and it grows over time so that you can enjoy it later in life. And I think what's really interesting about this period is you've got a lot of these big crashes in recent history. You got the .com crash in there in around 2000. You also have the 2008 crash that we had. And then you've got some smaller little crashes along the way. But this contains these huge crashes, and you still manage to get a 5x return on your money over that period. Now let's take a look at the last 15 years. This is where the real magic happens. This is where you go from that low 6-figure range to into that 7-figure range. So if you invested £5 per day all the way through from 1979 to 2024, you would have a total portfolio value of about 1.6 million. And all you would have invested over that time period is £81,000. Now that is where the magic happens. It happens in those later years of your life. And if you don't start now, you don't start early, you're not going to be able to benefit from that later down the line. And it might seem like right now when you're young that doesn't matter, but I've never met a 65-year-old who didn't wish they had an extra 1.6 million in the bank. Now £5 a day is a pretty small amount of money. I think a lot of people, if you're more diligent with it, if you start to earn a little more, you get a side hustle, you can invest a lot more of that and then grow this into significantly more wealth. Now 1.6 million when we're 65, it may not be as much, and it definitely won't. Inflation will eat away at that, and the spending power of 1.6 million won't be what it is today. But I think that the thought of starting with £5 per day, it's a small amount of money, it gets that snowball rolling, and as you see it start to grow, you can start to invest more into it. So I think it's a great way to start for beginner investors. So how do you go about finding this extra £5 per day? Well, honestly, it's not that hard. The average smoker spends £13.30 per day on cigarettes. If they can find that, and I know a lot of smokers who, they're not wealthy, they don't have a ton of disposable income, they're on the same wages as us, but because they want to smoke so much, they'll go ahead and they'll spend that money and they'll find whatever they can do to get it. So if you want to get wealthy over time as much as they want to smoke, I'm sure that you can find just £5 per day to invest. And as you start to go ahead and invest more money, I'm sure you'll want to actually invest more, but just get started with £5 per day. I know it's a cliche, but it could actually be as simple as just switching from your Starbucks each day to a coffee that you bring with you. Starbucks is almost £5 now. You could also just go ahead and instead of eating out lunch every day at work, you go ahead and bring your packed lunch with you 3 days a week even. Still enjoy your Thursdays, your Fridays, and have a nice meal. And it'll actually probably improve your life. You'll be spending less money and also be getting healthier because you're not eating this shit that we eat when we're out and about. So those are just some simple ways, and there's hundreds of ways that you can do it. You might want to go and make some extra money just so that you can invest it, or you may want to go ahead and cut out some subscriptions, stop buying designer clothes and just buy normal clothes, or go ahead and cut your car payment. Whatever it is, there's an easy way to find an extra £5 per day. And don't get me wrong, I love all these things. I eat out a ton, I go and I like my Starbucks, but I do it after I've invested. If you can invest your money first and then the rest of the money that you have for the rest of the month is just money you can spend on whatever you want, it makes life so much easier. You don't have to feel like you're cutting things. You can just spend your money as you wish, but you put £150 away at the start of the month. Forget about it. That's money that's gone for the next 20 years, 30 years. Maybe if you want to go and buy a house, you touch this money. Or maybe if you want to start a business, you touch this money. But outside of that, you're not buying luxurious things with this money. You're not going on holidays with this money. It's there for the future. Whenever you're 50, 60, 65, you retire, you've got an extra 1.6 million. That sounds pretty good to me. Now, where would you actually invest? So you can check out Trading 212 down below in the description. When it comes to what to invest in, usually just investing in a simple index fund for beginners is the way to go. Personally, I invest in the Fidelity Index World Fund. That's what most of my portfolio is made up of. And it invests about 70% in the US and about 30% the rest of the world. So that gives me some diversity. If the US doesn't outperform everywhere else over the next 10, 20, 30 years, have a little bit of diversity for countries that might outperform, and whenever they do poorly, the US might do well, and vice versa. So it gives a little bit of balance in the portfolio, which is always nice as well. If you want to check out some other index funds that I like, check out this video where I went through 3 of my favorite ETFs for long-term investors. And that's it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.